The alarm screamed through the communication center on Unity Station. Commander Thelnas lifted his crystalline head from the datapad he had been reading. His body caught the light from the massive windows that looked out into space. He was a Letharian, his species made of living crystal that formed his bones and skin. They were peaceful people who had joined the Galactic Coalition 800 cycles ago. "What is happening?" Thelnas asked his first officer, Pelion. Pelion was an Aventi, tall and graceful with silver skin and large eyes that could see in many light spectrums. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls. "Commander, we are receiving a distress signal. It is coming from Velterra Prime." Thelnas felt his crystal body grow cold. Velterra Prime was a mining colony on the edge of Coalition space. 40 million people lived there. 7 different species called it home. Families, children, workers who had built a life on that distant world. "Show me," he commanded. The main screen filled with static, then cleared. A terrified face appeared. It was Mirazol, a Dolvari doctor who worked on Velterra Prime. Her normally blue skin had turned pale with fear. "This is Velterra Prime calling any coalition forces," she said, her voice shaking. "We are under attack. They came from dark space. Thousands of ships. They are not answering our calls. They are just destroying everything. Our defense platforms are gone. We need help. Please, anyone, we have families here. We have children. Please help us." The transmission cut off with a burst of static. Then another signal appeared on the screen. This one was automated, cold and mechanical. It showed scan data of the enemy fleet. Pelion gasped. The Kralik swarm. Everyone in the command center fell silent. The Kraliks were known throughout the galaxy. They were a hive-minded species that consumed entire worlds. They appeared from the darkness between stars, attacked without warning, and left nothing behind. No one had ever successfully negotiated with them. No one had ever made them retreat. "How many ships?" Thelnas asked, though he already feared the answer. "Scans show 30,000 bioships, Commander," Pelion said quietly. "And the number is growing." Thelnas accessed the Coalition Defense Network. He needed to send help immediately. Protocol was clear. The nearest available fleet must respond to any distress call. He pulled up the tactical display. The nearest Coalition battle group was the 7th Fleet. 200 ships, all heavily armed and ready for combat. But they were engaged with border pirates 4 systems away. The next closest was the 3rd Fleet, but they were 6 cycles away at maximum speed. "How long does Velterra Prime have?" Thelnas asked. A junior officer, a young Telkin named Brainon, checked the data. Based on the Kralik's attack pattern, the colony has 18 standard hours before complete orbital bombardment begins. Once that starts, nothing can survive. 18 hours. The 7th Fleet could not disengage in time. The 3rd Fleet was too far away. 40 million people were going to die, and there was nothing the Coalition could do to stop it. Thelnas looked at the star map with desperate eyes. There had to be someone. Anyone. Then he saw it. A new marker on the map. A species that had just joined the Coalition database 3 cycles ago. They called themselves humans. Their homeworld was called Earth. They had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. Their technology was primitive compared to most Coalition species. They still used fusion drives and kinetic weapons, but they were close. Only 40 light-years from Velterra Prime. "Commander, you cannot be serious," Pelion said, seeing what he was considering. "The humans have been in space for barely 2 cycles. They have primitive ships. What could they possibly do against the Kralik swarm?" "I am not asking them to fight," Thelnas said. "I am asking them if they can help with evacuation. Every life we save matters." He knew it was hopeless. The humans probably had a few dozen ships at most, but he had to try. He had to do something. Thelnas opened a channel on the emergency frequency. "This is Commander Thelnas of Unity Station, Galactic Coalition. We are forwarding a distress call to any human vessels in range. Velterra Prime is under attack. We need any assistance you can provide. Evacuation support, medical ships, anything." He sent the message and waited. Minutes passed. Each minute meant more people dying on Veltara Prime. Then, the communication system lit up. A response was coming in. It was audio only, and the voice was female, calm, and controlled. Unity Station, this is Admiral Yuna of the Human Defense Fleet. We have received your distress call. We are already on our way to Veltara Prime. Estimated arrival time is 17 hours, 40 minutes. Tell the colony to hold on. We are coming. Pelion stared at the communication display in shock. They are already moving, but we just sent the message. Thelnus was equally confused. Perhaps they were close to that system already. But Admiral? They have admirals? That means they have a proper military fleet structure. Another officer pulled up the human data file. It was sparse. Humans had only made official first contact a few cycles ago. They had provided basic information about their species and their world. Earth was listed as a Class 12 death world, which meant it was extremely dangerous to most forms of life. High gravity, violent weather, active tectonics, dangerous predators. They evolved on a death world, Braynon said softly. That explains their physical durability, but their technology level is listed as early fusion age. They should not have ships that can reach Veltara Prime in under 18 hours. Thelnus opened the channel again. Admiral Yuna, this is Commander Thelnus. We are grateful for any help you can provide. Please be aware that the enemy force numbers 30,000 ships. This is not a battle you can win. We are asking for evacuation support only. Do not engage the enemy directly. There was a pause. Then Admiral Yuna's voice came back. This time there was something in her tone that made Thelnus's crystal body resonate with an emotion he could not identify. Commander Thelnus, we appreciate your concern, but we did not come all this way to run away from a fight. The human race has a saying, when someone calls for help, you answer. We will see you in 17 hours. Yuna out. The channel closed. Pelion looked at Thelnus with worry in her large eyes. What have we done? We may have just sent these humans to their deaths. Thelnus could not answer. He could only watch the chronometer count down and hope that the humans knew what they were doing. In the back of his mind, a small voice whispered that perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy did not fully understand what it meant to be a species from a death world. On Veltara Prime, Mirasol held crying children in her arms as explosions shook the sky above. She did not know if help was coming. She did not know if she would survive the night. But somewhere in the darkness of space, 4,000 human warships were racing toward her at speeds that should have been impossible. The Deathworlders were coming. Deathworlders answered to SOS with total annihilation. Fleet 17 hours had passed since the distress call went out. Commander Thelnus sat in his small scout ship, hiding behind a dead moon in the Veltara system. He could not help. His ship was too small, meant only for observation and communication. But he refused to leave. If he could do nothing else, he would witness what happened here. He would tell the story of Veltara Prime. The scene before him was like something from a nightmare. The Kralix bioships filled the space around the colony world. They were alive, these ships, grown rather than built. They pulsed with a sickly green light and moved with an insect-like coordination that made Thelnus feel ill. They had destroyed every defense the colony had. Now they circled the planet like predators, preparing for the final attack. On the planet below, 40 million people hid in underground shelters. Mirasol, the doctor, had sent a final message an hour ago. She said the children were scared. She said they were running out of time. Then the communication was cut off as the Kralix began jamming all signals. Pelion sat beside Thelnus in the cramped cockpit. The humans are late, she said quietly. Perhaps they realized the situation was hopeless. Thelnus did not want to believe that. But 17 hours and 40 minutes had passed. Then 18 hours. Still nothing. Then his sensors screamed with alarm. Pelion grabbed her console as every instrument went wild. What is that? She gasped. Space itself was tearing open. Not in one place, but in thousands of places, all around Veltara Prime. Massive gravitational distortions appeared on the sensors. Thelnus had seen ships arrive through faster-than-light travel before, but never like this. This was different. This was coordinated on a scale he had never imagined possible. The first human ship appeared, then 10 more, then 100, then 1,000. They kept coming, materializing from nothing, each one appearing in a precisely calculated position. The ships formed a perfect sphere around the entire planet. 4,000 warships, all arriving at the exact same moment. Impossible, Pelion whispered. That level of coordination, that precision, it would require computing power beyond anything in Coalition space. Each ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of a Coalition destroyer. They were not elegant like Aventi ships or crystalline like Litharian vessels. They were brutal and efficient, covered in armor plating and bristling with weapons that Thelnus could not even identify. They looked like they had been built for one purpose only, to destroy anything that stood against them. A communication channel opened. The voice was the same one from before, Admiral Una. This is Admiral Una of the Human Defense Fleet to all Kralix vessels. You have attacked a colony under Galactic Coalition protection. You have murdered innocent civilians. You have exactly 60 seconds to retreat from this system, or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. Thelnus quickly opened a channel to the human fleet. Admiral Una, this is Commander Thelnus. There are 30,000 Kralix ships. You only have 4,000. Their bioships have weapons that can... Commander, I appreciate your concern, Una interrupted. But please move your ship to a safe distance. Things are about to get loud. The Kralix response was immediate. They did not retreat. They did not communicate. They simply attacked. 30,000 bioships turned as one and accelerated toward the human formation. They fired their plasma weapons, great gouts of superheated matter that could melt through the armor of any Coalition ship. All ships, Admiral Una said, her voice completely calm. Fire. What happened next would be talked about in every corner of Coalition space for cycles to come. The human ships opened fire simultaneously. But these were not the weapons that Coalition species used. These were not elegant energy beams or carefully aimed missiles. The humans used railguns, massive cannons that accelerated solid slugs to 15% of the speed of light. When the slugs hit the Kralix bioships, they did not just penetrate the hulls, they went completely through the ships and came out the other side, carrying vaporized organic matter with them. The humans used lasers, but not like any lasers the Coalition had seen. These were fusion-pumped, so powerful that they could boil away a bioship's entire hull in seconds. The Kralix ships did not explode. They simply turned into expanding clouds of superheated gas. And then there were the antimatter torpedoes. When those hit, they did not just destroy the target. They erased it. Matter and antimatter touched and released energy equal to a small star. Kralix bioships vanished in flashes of light so bright that Thelnus had to shield his eyes even from this distance. In the first 40 seconds of combat, 3,000 Kralix ships ceased to exist. The swarm, which had never retreated in all of recorded history, suddenly broke formation. Individual bioships began fleeing in every direction. Captain Hyun, Admiral Una said, take Battle Group 7 and pursue. No survivors. Understood, Admiral, a male voice responded. 800 human ships broke from the main formation. Their engines flared with blue light and they accelerated. Pelion checked her instruments and made a sound of disbelief. They are pulling 30 gravities of acceleration, she said. That would crush any Coalition species. How are the crews surviving that? Thelnus had no answer. He could only watch as the human ships hunted down the fleeing Kralix. It was not a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Kralix tried to scatter, tried to escape into the darkness of space. But the humans followed. Their sensors found every ship. Their weapons destroyed every target. 6 hours later, it was over. 30,000 Kralix bioships had entered the Velterra system. 0 left. The human defense fleet had lost 12 ships, destroyed by lucky hits before the Kralix broke. 12 ships out of 4,000. Admiral Una's voice came over the open channel again. Velterra Prime, this is Admiral Una. The Kralix have been eliminated. You are safe now. We are deploying medical teams and supplies to the surface. Help is on the way. On the planet below, Mirasol emerged from the underground shelter. She held the children's hands as they stepped out into the daylight. Above them, human ships descended through the atmosphere. They were bringing food, medicine, and reconstruction equipment. Mirasol fell to her knees and cried, not from fear this time, but from relief. They were alive. Against all odds, they were alive. On his scout ship, Thelnus stared at the tactical display. The human fleet maintained its perfect sphere formation around the planet. Every ship in exactly the right position. Not one ship out of place. Who are these humans? Pelion asked quietly. Thelnus remembered what he had read in the data file. Earth. Class 12 Deathworld. A planet that tried to kill everything living on it. And humans had not just survived there. They had thrived. They had conquered their world and then reached for the stars. And when they had heard a cry for help from strangers they had never met, on a world they had never seen, they had brought their entire military might to answer that call. I think, Thelnus said slowly, that the galaxy has been very fortunate. Fortunate that when we met the Deathworlders, they were the kind of people who protect the weak rather than prey on them. But Commander, Pelion said, her voice troubled, if they can do this to the Kralik swarm, what could they do to us? To the Coalition? It was the question that everyone would be asking soon. The humans had just demonstrated military power beyond anything the Coalition had ever seen. They had destroyed an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. They had done it in hours, and they had done it with only a portion of their fleet. Thelnus opened a channel to Admiral Una. Admiral, this is Commander Thelnus. On behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I thank you. You have saved 40 million lives today. The Coalition is in your debt. No debt, Commander, Una replied. We were just doing what anyone should do. Someone called for help. We answered. That is all. But it was not all. Thelnus knew that. The galaxy had changed today. The humans were here now. The Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. Deathworlders answered to SOS with total annihilation. Fleet. 3 days after the battle, Veltara Prime was still filled with human ships. But these were not warships. These were medical vessels, construction ships, and supply transports. Human engineers worked alongside Coalition colonists to rebuild what the Kraliks had destroyed. Human doctors treated the wounded in temporary hospitals set up across the colony. Mirasol walked through one of these hospitals, watching the human medical teams work. She was a doctor herself, trained in Dulvery medicine, which was considered the best in Coalition space. But what she saw the humans doing amazed her. A human medic named J-In was treating a wounded Telkin child. The child had been caught in a building collapse during the Kraliks attack. Her arm was badly broken. J-In worked quickly and efficiently, setting the bone and applying a strange foam that hardened into a cast. The child stopped crying almost immediately. What is that material? Mirasol asked. J-In smiled. It is a polymer that bonds with bone tissue. It helps speed up healing. The cast will dissolve on its own once the bone is fully healed. Mirasol had never heard of such technology, but before she could ask more questions, an explosion shook the building. Everyone ducked. Outside, there were shouts and the sound of weapons fire. J-In reacted instantly. She grabbed a rifle that had been leaning against the wall and ran toward the door. Stay here, she told Mirasol. But Mirasol followed. Outside, she saw what was happening. A Kralix bioship had crashed in the colony during the battle. It had been damaged but not destroyed. Now, Kralix warriors were emerging from the wreckage. They were 3 meters tall, covered in razor-sharp chitin, with mandibles that could cut through steel. J-In and 2 other human soldiers stood between the Kralix and the hospital. 3 humans against a dozen Kralix warriors. Mirasol wanted to scream at them to run, but they did not run. They opened fire. The human weapons made a sharp cracking sound. Hypersonic rounds tore through the Kralix warriors, dropping them one after another. When the Kralix charged, J-In did something that made Mirasol's blood freeze. She stepped forward to meet them. The Kralix warrior swung a bladed limb at J-In's head. But J-In was faster. She ducked under the blow, stepped inside the creature's reach and drove her combat knife up through a gap in its armor. The Kralix fell. Another warrior came at her from the side. Jaeyin turned and fired her rifle at point-blank range. The warrior's head exploded. In less than 2 minutes, all 12 Kralix warriors were dead. The 3 human soldiers were not even breathing hard. Mirasol ran to Jaeyin. "Are you hurt? Let me check you for injuries." Jaeyin laughed. "I am fine, doctor. Just doing my job." But when Jaeyin removed her helmet, Mirasol saw blood running down the side of her face. A Kralix had struck her. The blow would have killed most species instantly. "You are bleeding. You need medical attention." Jaeyin touched her head and looked at the blood on her fingers. "Oh, that is just a scratch. It will be fine." "A scratch? That creature hit you with enough force to crack a Letharian's crystalline body? How are you even standing?" Jaeyin shrugged. "We are tougher than we look, I guess." Mirasol insisted on treating the wound. As she worked, she used her medical scanner on Jaeyin. What she saw made her hands tremble. The readings could not be correct. She scanned again. The same results. Jaeyin's bones were denser than titanium alloy. Her muscle tissue contained redundant oxygen storage systems. Her blood carried oxygen with brutal efficiency and clotted in seconds. Her body was designed to survive in conditions that would kill almost any other species in the galaxy. "What kind of world produces creatures like you?" Mirasol whispered. Jaeyin heard her. "A world that tries to kill you every day. A world where you either adapt or die. We adapted." That evening, Commander Thelnus requested permission to visit Earth. He needed to understand what the humans really were. Admiral Yuna granted his request but gave him a warning. "You may not like what you find, Commander," she said. Thelnus took First Officer Pelion with him. The humans also sent one of their own as a guide. Captain Da Min was a human science officer who had studied coalition biology. She would help them understand what they were going to see. The journey to Earth took 2 days on a human transport ship. During the trip, Da Min prepared them. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world," Da Min explained. "The gravity is 1.2 times coalition standard. The atmospheric pressure is 1.4 times standard. The oxygen level is 21%, which is toxic to most species without breathing equipment." Pelion checked her suit's life support systems. "What about radiation? Our sun is very active. Earth's magnetic field protects us, but the radiation levels on the surface are still high by coalition standards. You will need protection." "Weather patterns?" Thelnus asked. Damon smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We have hurricanes that can destroy entire cities. We have tornadoes that can lift buildings off their foundations. We have temperatures that range from 50 degrees above freezing to 50 degrees below. We have earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis." "But surely your cities are built in safe areas," Pelion said. "Our largest cities are built on tectonic fault lines, river deltas that flood regularly, and coastal areas hit by hurricanes. We do not run from danger, we build around it." When they arrived at Earth, Da Min took them to the surface in a shuttle. As they descended through the atmosphere, Thelnus watched the planet below. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. But Da Min showed them the readings. The air pressure outside would have crushed a Letharian. The oxygen would have poisoned an Aventi. The gravity would have made movement impossible for most species. They landed at a human city called Sol. Even inside his protective suit, Thelnus could feel the heaviness of the gravity pulling at him. Every step took effort. Beside him, Pelion was struggling even more. "How do you move so easily in this gravity?" Pelion asked Da Min. "We were born in it. We grew up in it. To us, this is normal. Your worlds feel too light to us. We have to be careful not to jump too high or move too fast." Da Min took them to a museum. It showed human history. Thelnus and Pelion walked through the exhibits in growing horror. They saw evidence of humans hunting animals 10 times their size with primitive weapons. They saw how humans had survived ice ages that covered half the planet. They saw how humans had crossed vast oceans in wooden boats, not knowing if they would ever reach land. "You did not just survive your world," Pelion said quietly. "You conquered it." "Yes, Daman said. Every species on Earth fears humans. We are the apex predator, but we are also the protector. We decided long ago that we would not let our world's dangers destroy us. We would master them. That night, Thelnus could not sleep. He kept thinking about what he had learned. Humans were not just technologically advanced. They were biologically designed for war. Their bodies were weapons. Their minds were shaped by a world that gave them no choice but to fight or die. And yet, when they had heard the distress call from Velterra Prime, they had not hesitated. They had not calculated profit or political advantage. They had simply come to help. I understand now, Thelnus said to Pelion as they prepared to return to Coalition space. The humans are dangerous, yes. But they are dangerous in the same way that a parent is dangerous when their children are threatened. They have the capacity for great violence, but they choose to use it to protect others. But what if they change their minds? Pelion asked. What if one day they decide to conquer rather than protect? It was the question that Thelnus knew the entire coalition would be asking. He had no answer. He could only hope that the humans would remain the people they had shown themselves to be. People who answered distress calls. People who protected the weak. People who, despite coming from a world of violence, had chosen to be something better. As their ship left Earth orbit, Thelnus looked back at the blue planet. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were going about their lives. Working, learning, raising families. Not so different from any other species in the galaxy. Except that any one of them could probably kill a Kralix warrior with their bare hands. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, Thelnus felt grateful. Grateful that these powerful, dangerous beings had chosen to be friends rather than enemies. Deathworlders. Answered to SOS with total Annihilation fleet. The Council of 40 species met on Unity Station 2 weeks after the Battle of Velterra Prime. Representatives from every major coalition species filled the massive chamber. Thelnus stood in the center, preparing to give his report. He had been asked to brief the council on the human situation. Every eye in the room was on him. Honored council members, Thelnus began, I have returned from Earth. I have studied the humans. I have witnessed their capabilities both in combat and in peace. My report is simple. The humans are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. They are also potentially our greatest allies. Counselor Vexith, a cautious Mantarii with multiple arms and compound eyes, stood up. His voice was sharp with worry. Dangerous is an understatement, Commander. Our intelligence reports show that the human fleet is larger than the 5 biggest coalition navies combined. Their weapons technology is 200 cycles ahead of ours in destructive capacity. A single human soldier is more dangerous than most of our special forces teams. They could conquer the entire coalition if they wanted to. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Fear was in the air. Thelnus could sense it. But they did not conquer, Thelnus said firmly. They saved. When Velterra Prime called for help, they did not ask what they would gain. They did not negotiate for payment. They simply came and fought. They lost 12 ships and 147 crew members defending people they had never met. Counselor Brannon, an elderly Telkin scholar with silver scales, spoke next. His voice was thoughtful. That is what troubles me most, Commander. Why did they come? What do they want from us? No species commit such resources without expecting something in return. Before Thelnus could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human delegation entered. Leading them was Ambassador Bora, a woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. Behind her walked Admiral Yuna and Commander Sang Wu, the head of human intelligence. They moved with quiet confidence, their presence filling the room. Honored Council, Bora said, bowing respectfully. I apologize for interrupting, but I believe I can answer Counselor Brannon's question directly. Vexith waved an arm dismissively. By all means, Ambassador. Tell us what humans want. Bora walked to the center of the chamber. She looked at each council member in turn. I will tell you what we want, but first, let me tell you who we are. She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly above the council floor. This is our world. For millions of years, it tried to kill us. Predators hunted us. Diseases infected us. Storms destroyed our homes. Earthquakes swallowed our cities. But we survived. We adapted. We became very, very good at violence because we had no choice. The image changed, showing human history. Battles. Wars. Conflicts that had raged across centuries. We fought each other too, for resources, for beliefs, for survival. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire world several times over. We came very close to extinction multiple times. Vexith clicked his mandibles nervously. You are not helping your case, Ambassador. Boros smiled sadly. I am being honest with you, Counselor. Yes, we are violent. Yes, we are dangerous. But we also learned something important through all that suffering. We learned that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. We learned that cooperation is stronger than conflict. We learned that when you have power, you have a choice. You can use it to dominate, or you can use it to protect. The images changed again, showing human rescue workers saving people from disasters, doctors treating patients in war zones, engineers building schools in poor areas. When we finally reached the stars, we were terrified. We thought we were alone in the universe. We built our fleet because we feared what we might find out here. We expected enemies. We expected threats. We prepared for war. Admiral Yuna stepped forward. What we found instead were neighbors, friends, species who had built a coalition based on cooperation and mutual support. We were overjoyed. For the first time in our history, we were not alone. We were not the only ones looking up at the stars and wondering if there was anyone else out there. And then we heard the distress call, Bora continued. 40 million people were going to die. The coalition could not reach them in time. We could. So we did what humans do. We answered the call. Commander Sang-woo activated another display. This one showed the full extent of the human defense fleet. The numbers made several council members gasp. You should know the truth, Sang-woo said. The fleet we sent to Veltara Prime was 40% of our military capacity. We have 6,000 more ships in reserve. We built all of this in 50 cycles because we were terrified. Because we thought the universe might be hostile. Because we wanted to be ready. Now we know the truth, Bora said. The universe is not entirely hostile. There are good people out here. People who need protection. People who deserve to live in peace. And we have the power to help them. She looked directly at Vexith. You asked what we want, Counselor. Here is what we want. We want to join the Galactic Coalition as full members. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share our knowledge with you. We want our children to grow up in a galaxy where they have friends among the stars. And in exchange, Admiral Yuna added, the human defense fleet will serve as the Coalition's rapid response force. When someone calls for help, we will answer. We will go where you cannot go fast enough. We will fight threats that you cannot fight alone. We will do what we were built to do, protect people. But we have one condition, Bora said, her voice turning hard. Never ask us to ignore a distress call. Never ask us to leave people behind because it is not convenient or profitable to help them. If you can accept that we will always answer when someone cries for help, then we will be honored to stand beside you. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some members were excited, others were worried. Vexith stood again. And if we refuse? What then? Will you conquer us? Bora shook her head. No, Counselor. If you refuse, we will respect your decision. We will return to our own space and defend our own borders. We will not force ourselves on you. But we hope you will see that we are offering friendship. We are offering protection. We are offering to be what we have always tried to be, defenders of those who cannot defend themselves. Commander Sang-woo spoke one final time. But you should understand something. If you accept us, you also accept our nature. We come from a death world. We are shaped by violence. When we protect something, we protect it absolutely. When we fight to win. When someone threatens our friends, he paused. Let me put it this way. The Kralik swarm terrorized this galaxy for centuries. They destroyed countless worlds. After we were done with them at Veltara Prime, We hunted down every single Kralix hive ship in a radius of 50 light-years. There are no more Kralix in this sector of space. There will never be Kralix in this sector of space again. The silence that followed was total. Every council member understood the implication. The humans were offering protection, yes, but they were also demonstrating what happened to those who threatened what they protected. Thelnus finally spoke. Honored Council, I have seen the humans at war and at peace. I have walked on their world and felt its weight. I have watched them save children and fight monsters. My recommendation is simple. Accept their offer. Better to have the Deathworlders as friends than as strangers. Better to have them fighting beside us than ignoring us. Pelion, who had been standing quietly beside Thelnus, added her voice. I was terrified of the humans when I first saw what they could do. I am still terrified. But I am more terrified of a galaxy where the humans are not there to answer when someone calls for help. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, 37 species voted to accept the human offer. 3 voted against. The motion passed. Bo-Ra bowed deeply to the council. You have made us very happy today. We promise we will not let you down. As the human delegation left the chamber, Vexith turned to Thelnus. I hope we have made the right choice, Commander. Thelnus watched the humans walk away. He thought about the words Bo-Ra had used. Defenders, protectors, friends. I think we have, Counselor. Time will tell. But I think we have. Outside Unity Station, the human ships waited in perfect formation. 4,000 warships, ready to defend a galaxy that had finally accepted them, ready to answer the next call for help, ready to show the universe what it meant when Deathworlders chose to protect instead of conquer. Deathworlders answered to SOS with total annihilation. Fleet 6 cycles had passed since the humans joined the Galactic Coalition. The galaxy had changed in ways both large and small. Commander Thelnus stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, looking out at the stars. Beside him, a cup of coffee sat cooling on the railing. He had learned to drink the human beverage, though it still made his crystalline body vibrate uncomfortably. Humans drank it every day without issue. It was one of many reminders that they were built differently. Still thinking about the old days? A voice asked. Thelnus turned to see Admiral Una walking toward him. She was older now, with more gray in her hair. But she still moved with the same quiet strength she had shown at Veltara Prime. I was thinking about how much has changed, Thelnus said. Do you know what the latest security reports show? Piracy in Coalition space has dropped by 90%. 3 aggressive species that used to test our borders have become peaceful neighbors. Trade routes that were dangerous 6 cycles ago are now completely safe. Una smiled. People behave better when they know someone is watching. And when that someone has 4,000 warships. It is more than that, Thelnus said. The pirates and raiders knew that if they attacked someone, you would come. They knew that humans do not negotiate with people who hurt innocents. They knew that running would not save them. Is that a criticism, Commander? No, Admiral. It is an observation. You have brought order to chaos. You have made the galaxy safer. But you have also made it clear what happens to those who break the peace. Una nodded slowly. We learned a long time ago that evil thrives when good people do nothing. We decided we would never be the people who do nothing. A chime sounded. Thelnus checked his communicator. There is a council meeting starting. Are you attending? Yes. Walk with me. As they walked through Unity Station, Thelnus noticed the changes that had become normal over the past 6 cycles. Human soldiers stood guard alongside Coalition security forces. Human engineers worked on station repairs. Human doctors staffed the medical facilities. They had integrated themselves into every aspect of Coalition life. In the council chamber, the meeting was already starting. The topic was the Kralix swarm. Or rather, the lack of the Kralix swarm. Since the battle at Veltara Prime, there had not been a single Kralix attack anywhere in known space. Our scouts have searched all the systems where Kralix hives were reported, Councillor Brennan said. We have found nothing. No ships, no hives, no trace of them at all. Councillor Vexith, who had opposed the human membership, spoke carefully. Commander Sang-woo, do you have any information about this? The human intelligence officer stood. We tracked down every Kralix hive we could find within 100 light-years of Coalition space. We destroyed them, all of them. We wanted to make sure they could never threaten anyone again. The chamber fell silent. Vexith's compound eyes blinked rapidly. You hunted them to extinction in this sector? Yes, Sang-woo said simply. They were a threat to civilian populations. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be reformed. So we eliminated the threat permanently. Thelnus watched the council members process this information. Some looked relieved. Others looked uncomfortable. The humans had done what the Coalition had never been able to do. They had removed an enemy that had caused terror for centuries. But the ease with which they had done it was frightening. After the meeting, Thelnas visited Veltara Prime. He did this every few cycles now. The colony had been completely rebuilt. New buildings stood where the Kralix had destroyed the old ones. The population had grown, with new colonists arriving every month. People felt safe here now. In the central square of the main city, a monument stood. It was a simple black stone wall with names carved into it. 147 names. The humans who had died defending this world. Mirasol, the doctor who had survived the attack, came to stand beside Thelnus. She held the hand of a small Telkin child. This is my daughter, Rin, she said. She was born a cycle after the battle. I named the square after the human who saved us, Una Square. The Admiral would be honored, Thelnus said. Every night, I tell Rin the story of what happened here. I tell her how we thought we would die. I tell her how the humans came even though they did not have to. I tell her that the good people in this galaxy are willing to fight for strangers. A human patrol walked through the square. The leader, a young woman named Ji-woo, waved at Rin. The child waved back excitedly. Human soldiers had become a normal sight on Veltara Prime. The colonists no longer feared them. They welcomed them. Thelnus's communicator chimed again. An urgent message. He read it and felt his crystalline body grow cold. I must go. There is an emergency. What is wrong? Mirasol asked. A distress call. A colony under attack by slavers. Thelnus hurried back to his ship. By the time he reached the command center on Unity Station, the response was already in motion. Captain Pelion stood at the tactical display. She had been promoted after the humans joined, now commanding a joint coalition human vessel called the Unity's Shield. Status? Thelnus asked. A small colony called Haven's Rest. Population 12,000. Slaver fleet of 30 ships. They are taking civilians by force. Pelion's voice was hard with anger. She had learned much from serving alongside humans, including their absolute intolerance for those who preyed on the weak. What is your response? We are already on our way. ETA 40 minutes. The slavers will not escape this time. Thelnus watched the tactical display as Pelion's ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The Unity's shield was a new design, built jointly by human and coalition engineers. It combined human weapons technology with coalition shield systems. It was commanded by an Avanti, but crewed by 7 different species, including 12 humans. 40 minutes later, the ship arrived at Haven's Rest. The slaver fleet was in the middle of loading captured colonists onto their ships. When they saw the Unity's shield appear, they tried to run. They did not get far. Pelion's tactical officer, Lieutenant Ji-woo, targeted each slaver ship with precision. Human railguns destroyed their engines. Coalition tractor beams pulled them back. Within 20 minutes, every slaver ship was disabled and boarded. The colonists were freed. The slavers were arrested and would face coalition justice. Not one civilian had been killed. Pelion sent her report to Unity Station with one simple addition. The humans have taught us well. We answered the call. We protected the weak. Mission complete. Thelnus read the report and felt something he had not felt in many cycles. Pride. Not just in the humans, but in what they had helped the Coalition become. The Coalition was stronger now, more willing to act, more willing to protect those who needed protection. That evening, Thelnis met with Admiral Una one final time before she retired. She was stepping down as fleet commander, passing the role to a younger officer, but her legacy would continue. "Do you have any regrets, Admiral?" Thelnis asked. Una considered the question carefully. "I regret the lives we lost at Veltara Prime. I regret that we could not arrive sooner. I regret every life we could not save. But do I regret bringing our fleet to answer that distress call? Never." "You changed the galaxy," Thelnis said. "You showed us that having power is not something to fear. It is how you use that power that matters. We learned that lesson on Earth, Commander. Our world tried to make us into monsters. We chose to be protectors instead. When we reached the stars and found the coalition, we had a choice. We could have conquered. We could have dominated. But we chose to help. We chose to answer when someone called. And the galaxy is better for it." Una looked out at the stars through the observation window. "There is an old human saying, 'All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing.' We decided we would never do nothing, and we taught you that you did not have to either." Years later, Thelnis was old. His crystalline body had begun to dim with age. But he still told the story of Veltara Prime to anyone who would listen. He told them about the day the humans arrived, about the day the Deathworlders answered a cry for help with overwhelming force, about the day the galaxy learned that the most dangerous species could also be the most compassionate. On Veltara Prime, Rin was grown now. She had become a coalition officer, serving on a human ship. She wore the uniform proudly and kept a small piece of that Blackstone monument in her pocket, a reminder of the day strangers became heroes. On Earth, Admiral Una's granddaughter, Ensign Hana, graduated from the academy. She took her oath to defend the coalition and all its member species. She promised to answer when called, just as her grandmother had done. And across the galaxy, on 40,000 worlds, people slept safely. They knew that if danger came, if someone threatened their peace, there would be an answer. Ships would come. Help would arrive. The Deathworlders would answer the call. Because that was what humans did. That was what they had always done. That was what they would always do. They protected. They defended. They refused to let evil triumph while they had the strength to fight it. And the galaxy was safer because they had chosen to use their strength for good rather than for conquest. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they had brought hope with them.